thank you for joining me here in this test. This is just a test. It's totally unscripted, but we are going to do a compression check using the Picoscope, and we'll do a relative compression check with a current probe, because there may be cases where you cannot get to the spark plugs without maybe taking part of the intake manifold apart. In fact, I've got an example here, screen number 4 there. All right, so in this particular case, we had a Jeep 6-cylinder that we had a misfire we're trying to identify, and bank 2 cylinders 2, 4, and 6 are basically under the intake manifold. So what we did is we pulled out number 1 spark plug and screwed in our probe. So go to the overhead view. There we go. So we screwed in this guy at number 1, and we hooked up our current probe, which we're going to hook up in a minute, and we ran a cranking compression check. And you can look at the screen here where we have our reference, and then we go through the firing order and see which cylinder is low. So in this particular case, we've got cylinder, the firing order happens to be basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this. But if we look right there, there's the amperage required for cylinder number 1, and the next one is cylinder number 2, which is what we had a misfire with. Then we had cylinder number 3, 4, 5, 6, and we repeat again. So very helpful. One of the interesting observations here is that you'll see that it's really high on number 3, cylinder 3. And so you may ask, why is that? Why did that happen? Well, think about the cranking speed here. The starter cranking speed actually sped up because we didn't have that much resistance on that cylinder number 2, and so it sped up a little bit, and that actually caused a little more compression and a little more resistance, so we had a higher number. All right, so what we're going to go ahead and do is connect. We go to our overhead view here. So we've got our Picoscope, and I need a helper over here. So Jesus, can you come on over and we'll get this thing hooked up? So we're going to plug this, go ahead and screw that in cylinder 1. And then we have the WPX 500. Let's see, what is this? Yeah, 500X. All right, so we just power this thing on, let it boot up, and it's going to default to the high range, and we're going to leave it right there. Go ahead and plug that into your hose, and then connect that to channel A. All right, and then we're going to take our current probe here and connect it to channel B. We want to make sure we don't connect it to anything, so it's going to zero itself out. And go ahead and go around the, say, the negative cable out here. Yeah, okay. And it doesn't matter the polarity, because we can figure that out in the scope. All right, now we're going to go to the scope here. And when you fire at the scope, it basically pulls up this little help page, but I'm going to just bypass that because I'm going to go right into setup. So channel A is our WPX, so we have to go to the probes. We'll go down here and select the WPX, all right? And by default, it just goes to 500 PSI, which is fine with me. This engine isn't going to produce 500, but we can always zoom into that. And then channel B, it's in the auto mode right there, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the 500 amps, so it'll put it in manual mode. And we don't know which way the current probe is going to display anything, but we can always invert that, right? So if you open up the channel, and right here we do have an invert operation, okay? And I'm going to basically put, normally if I'm doing this by myself, I'll put like 5 seconds per division, okay? And then I'm going to set up a trigger as well. And I'm going to trigger on, I'm going to put auto, I'm going to trigger on A, and then I'll just grab our cursor and I'm going to basically put it right there going to be about 27 psi. Okay, so as soon as we get that, it's going to start painting across the screen. I'm going to stop. And if my trigger is set up right, now I don't know why, how did it go? Simple edge, auto repeat. I'm going to just go with single, okay? So we're going to make it run, and it should just stall out right there at that first line. Okay. All right. So now we're ready to test, so we can go ahead and crank it. We've unplugged all the ignition coils, and we're going to go ahead and spin it around, and I'll tell you when to stop, and then we're going to spin it a second time, okay? Crank it. Okay. Go ahead and crank it again. Okay. All right, that's good. And then we'll hit the space bar to stop our recording. All right. So we can see right away that our current is likely going the wrong way, but we're going to zoom in here and have a look. Let's zoom back out a little bit. Okay. So you can see that the current is going down. So I'm going to go here and actually invert this channel. So we want to see the current going up, and you'll see that it went off the screen there. If we look at our zoom window here, we can see we can just drop this down here. All right. So there we have it. We have evaluated cylinder 1, which we're getting about 155 psi. And about minus 4.6 psi on the pulse side here, expansion stroke. And then we bring our cursors over here, and we're basically just looking for consistency, right? So we see this cylinder looks good, that looks good. The second one in the firing order here is maybe just a little bit low, but probably not an issue. And you'll also notice there's a lot of fuzz on here. So we can go to number 2, we can go to this DSP low pass filter, turn that on, and see if that'll help us filter that down. And sometimes we'll need to bring this down a little further just to kind of clean up that waveform. There we go. All right, so we have a decent waveform, and I can bring my cursors back down. So they're relatively even. All right, so now if we want to go to each cylinder and do a comparison, what I would do here is we're going to pull up the reference waveforms, okay? And I'm looking for my reference waveform. Oh, there it is, okay. So I'm going to click reference waveform. We're going to add A, okay? And A here, we're going to add that, and then I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to give it cylinder 1, okay? And I'm going to give it a color. We'll start off with orange here. All right, so cylinder A is that. I'm going to click save. And what I normally like to do on my saving is to create a new folder. And you know what year this thing is? Like a 2012 Kia, okay? So we made a new folder, and I'm going to call this cylinder 1 reference waveform. That's if I need to pull that up again. Normally I'd also like to go in and add the vehicle details, but since we're kind of doing this on the fly here, I'm going to just not do that part. It's nice because then it gives you a better file naming, and then we'll go ahead and just save the entire file here, and I'm going to call this cylinder 1 cranking compression. All right, we'll hit save. All right, and I didn't label the label these either, so I'm going to call this cylinder waveform, okay? And then this is starter current, cylinder 1. All right. We'll call these both good. I'm going to hit the save button again so that all that metadata gets added to that file. It's going to tell me, yes, I want to overwrite it. Okay. All right, so next, let's go ahead and just whip out all those other coils. I probably could have had you doing that while I was screwing around, but we'll see how fast you are here. And then we'll pull out the other spark plugs. All right. So I've got my production studio, what's your title? Production monkey. All right. So we just did a relative compression check on this engine here. Everything looks pretty good. We're going to proceed to pull all the rest of the spark plugs out. We're going to go to each cylinder and grab a value. Go to our overhead shot. There we go. All right, we've got our cooking table set up here. All right, how many people do we have in our room here? Do we have anybody that's, oh, we got a Scott from AES, okay. What does he have to say? I don't have my glasses on, so I can't read anything. Let me know if they have anything interesting to share with us. What's that? Huh? I got spinach in my teeth. Oh, that's a George Costanza joke. That's a Costanza reference. Okay, so if they're listening, actually I saw that this morning. I think Jerry was asking George what he was going to do with that extra day in February, and he said something about he was going to get a whole big thing of cheese and just bite into it, but not actually eat the cheese, just bite into it. So I'm not sure what kind of reference that is, but you have to be a little goofy to really like that show, and I love that show. So, all right, so we got them all out? Yep. So one other thing here we can do, since we've got the other cylinders out, we're going to actually have probably a higher cranking speed. So we're going to go ahead and repeat our test. And what I'll do is I'm going to zoom out, go 1 to 1. I'm going to hit the space bar again. So we're going to have our trigger. Go ahead and crank it. Okay. All right, that's good. So we'll stop the scope. We're going to take another zoom in here. And you'll see we do have a little bit higher compression. So we go up here. We're at 160. And the orange one, of course, is our reference waveform. We're at 156. So we've got basically 10 psi more, and that's because we've got a higher cranking speed there. Okay. All right. So we're going to now use that as our real reference, okay? So I'm going to go to reference waveforms. I'm going to remove this one, okay? I'm going to add that one, and we're going to hit, I'm going to double click here. I'm going to call this cylinder 1. We'll go back and give it an orange color, okay? And then I'm going to hit save, and we're going to say cylinder 1, just for reference here, all plugs removed, okay? And we'll go ahead and let's move over to the next hole, number 2. You can go overhead, I guess, so we can see us. It looks like we're working over here. We're moving my hands. What am I supposed to do with my hands? What does Ricky Bobby say? I don't know what to do with my hands. And we'll get prepped for our next test here. Go back to one-on-one. All right, we're good. Okay, hit the space bar again, and I'm going to have him crank it. Okay. All right, hit the space bar, we stop it. Zoom in, and there we go. There's our next cylinder. So that's cylinder number 2. We're going to hit reference waveforms. We're going to add A. We're going to double click on that, rename it to cylinder 2. Let's go ahead and move it over to the next hole there, Jesus. We'll give it a color. We'll go with green on this one here, and then I'm going to hit save. All right. Actually, hit this. Number 2. Okay, we've got that saved. About 163, so still pretty good. All right, we'll go back out 1-to-1 look. I'm going to hit the space bar, and you can go ahead and crank it again when you're ready. Okay. All right, hit the space bar, stop it, take another zoom in here. Oops, zoom down a little bit. And we go ahead and swap it over to the next hole there. So we can see this one's actually a little bit, a little lower. Okay. Not too bad, but so now, again, reference waveform. We're going to add A. We're going to double click on this one, rename it to cylinder 3. We'll give it a color. We're going to go with this kind of this aqua blue. Then we'll hit save. Down here, number 3. And we'll go 100%. Okay. Hit the space bar and go ahead and crank it again. All right. Okay, and there's our, this dark blue is the one we just did. So I'm going to go ahead and hit reference waveforms again. We're going to add A. I'll double click on that one. We're going to call this cylinder 4. Cylinder 4, okay. And then we're going to give that a color as well. We'll go with purple on that one. Okay, all right. And then we'll hit save. Come down here, put the 4, and enter. Okay. Come on, I want to get rid of that panel there. Okay. All right, so we've got all 4 on the screen, plus the last test, so I'm just going to turn that one off. And then we're going to also turn off this channel as well. Okay. Okay, so there's all four cylinders on one page, and of course you can grab your cursors and this will mark them all out here. The orange one is number 1. Purple one is number 4, and then this green one was number 2, right? Then over here, we can also pull these down to the bottom. They're all pretty much the same, but Pico will give us this table as a reference. bottom of our pole here. Okay, and there we go. We've got 165, 162, 139, 157. And then on the bottom of the pole, they're all pretty even. And then what you can do here, what I normally like to do, is just do a screenshot of this. And I use a program that helps me do that. Snag it, which actually works pretty good. Then we can just add a note here. Compression test, and then and then you can save the file, etc. All right, so that's how we can do a quick compression check and using the Picoscope and document that inside of our software. We like to put that right into the service ticket, and now we've got a good reference there. So did we learn anything? And so do we have any questions coming in there, Johnny?
Are you running a battery maintainer?
Negative. No battery maintainer.
Carlos is still at Walmart.
It's got a Duralast battery in it, so it says right on it, proven tough. So there's no need to put a maintainer on it. But that is a good point if you want to try to, maintain tight results. But we are working on a Kia here, so I'm not doing a ultra precision check. Can we show off our multi-view or our? Yeah, there we go. Okay. So what's interesting here is that you can see what we found with this Jeep here. Actually, I can show you the rest of my presentation on this Jeep here. So let's go ahead and go to the screen. So there's my reference waveform versus cylinder 2, and we had a problem with this particular Jeep here. And what we found was that we had an issue with a valve guide. And I do have a video. I'm going to play this little short video here. We should have sound. I better turn that on. There we go. Cylinder's already full of them. They're discolored. So you can see a little bit of smoke coming out there, but we use that bore scope, which is awesome. Now here's the, look at that slop there. And then this is cylinder 4, which was okay. A little bit of side to side, but I would call that normal. And there's some more pictures coming in here. So there's cylinder 2. See how wide that seat is. Number 4. Now we're theorizing, we also found that same cam lobe and follower had a challenge. And there's a couple of pictures here in this video. And so there's our cam lobe for that one. But look what it did to the roller here. You'll see it here in just a second. There you go, the roller. All the way around the roller was like that. So we think that it was basically allowing the valve, when it was in the closed position, to actually skip across and perhaps hold it off the seat a little bit, causing elevated temperatures and a failure. So let's, there's a picture that was in the car before we took it apart, and then you see that roller there. And there's our compression check, and I got to look at my notes here. What does this say? Cylinder 1, and then yeah, so that was our evaluation for cylinder 1 and cylinder 3 that I did, and yeah, okay, so let's go back to our overhead view. So now we're going to go ahead and put the car back together and put it back on the road, this camera. So thanks for joining us here. I know, well, we got that done in 30. We're still going to bill an hour for that, right? for this compression check, even though we spent 30 minutes doing it. So anyways, my live feed, I'm going to let this run for a little bit because I'm really kind of stress testing this setup in the shop because we're going to do an all-day class. And I just want to try to check and make sure that my gear is working, my sound is working, all of my inputs are working, and the things that we learn along the way. We learned a couple of things here that we'll have to make note of when we go to do our live class. But leave me a couple comments. Positive, negative, whatever you got. Look for a tip jar, and we only take Bitcoin, okay? And no partial Bitcoins. We want one whole Bitcoin from each person, okay? So, okay, we're gonna let it run. You can go ahead and do the overhead, and we can watch Jesus put this car back together, all right? All right, so let's see. Hang on a minute. Still at Walmart, but heading out. Carlos, there's background noise like a fan in addition to the car noise. So did you get that taken out? Mm-hmm. Okay. So Johnny was on the spot there. But yeah, we're going to dock him because he should have known that up front, right? And battery maintainer. How come you guys didn't remind me about putting a battery maintainer on here or battery charger? Because it said Duralast on the battery. That's why. Okay, got it. Okay. Let's see. So this says. Okay, I got somebody hammering on me. Hang on one second. Okay, all right, we're back. So should we try to do a camera move here while we're watching? And how many people we got in here? 5? Most of those people are here, right? The background is too bright and sunny. That's on channel 1, yeah. Jim, can you go back to channel 1? Yeah, this is just a quick setup. I got that huge backlight. We would normally have a front light here and try to make myself look as good as possible, right? But yeah, good point. All right, so let's, I'm gonna try to move this camera here. Let's see what we got here. We might have to adjust some exposure here. And I think I'm all the way open. Yeah, okay. We're at 1600 right now. I can bump that up. So let's do function 2000, 2500. Okay. All right. All right. There's our test bench. I'm going to put this on autofocus to see if it'll... How's the focus on that thing, Johnny? Does it look like it's... Thanks for that input there, Jim. Let's see, we're going to go to our super source and here. Okay, so there's our views. And then I could come back into the camera view, so that would be me talking, and then you can go directly to that. Oh, and we can't be running this at the same time. Yeah, that's one of the other problems is we get that that never ending. All right, so go back to the super source. So you'll see that we've got the ADAS background. So I'm going to switch that out for this guy right here. I can't change it on, so I can actually push that out there, but I want that as my background. So we're going to go to the panel here, and we go to media, no, palettes. I think it's the upstream key, so media player 1, we've got that. Maybe it's the downstream. Yeah, there it is, right there, downstream, right there. It's media player 2. And in order to see it, I have to go here. No. Downstream key. Well, where did this? We had that set up the other day. What? Media player 2? It's media player 1. That's what we want. Let's go down here. Maybe that's the problem. I got these mixed up. Media player. Key 2. Okay. Well, we got the ADAS class stuff back there, so I don't know.
So if you super source over, like if I hit this over the 3, what will that do?
You watch it, it'll just bounce, hit it. See it? See what it does? It bounces. So you don't normally want to do that.
Right.
But
so how do I change this in the super source? Like say, how do I put this there? Can you do that from the Stream Deck or no?
Oh, you have to do that up here.
Okay.
I think it's these boxes. So it says control box 1, and this is the source.
Gotcha.
Okay. So if you wanted to make, I guess we could flip these around.
Because you have it set for your laptop.
Yeah,
right
see
now.
what I just did?
Yeah.
So I set that to, you can mix these around. So I can go to box 3, and we call that the C300. So you can duplicate all of them, right? So actually, box 3 and 4, you can make those all both the same. Oh, that box 4 is the one that's up on the screen. Okay, box 3. Oops, box 4. And we can make that. That's our Picoscope. Okay, so you could flip them around here. That's how you would do it. And then you would just have to make reference over here to make sure you know which one is which. And I could actually, that one right there, the media player, we could swap that out. So the box 4, go box 1. Oh, we can enable that box, okay? And then media player 1. Okay. And then turn our super source on, and there's our thing. Okay. And we go box 2, and now switch that back to this guy. So you could play with all these things, just switch them around. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this show out. And also, let's see, there is one more thing. We could say breaking news, right? Oh, breaking news. Is it good news or bad news? There is no more good news, right? Go back to our super source, and then there we go. We got two cameras doubled up. Yep. All right, and then so we close the show out. We go to fade to black, and there we go. All right. Okay, Jim, did you see the results? We're going to be putting an engine in this thing. So no need to retorque those spark plugs. All right. So, hey, thank you guys for testing this out. And black. We got 47 minutes into this feed, and we only got one person in here. Okay. All right. So we're just going to hit end event.